Are we streaming live, Bailey? I see we're streaming live. Okay, excellent. Welcome everyone to our Tuesday, September 6th, 2022 Township Committee meeting. Maplewood's governing body, our first meeting after a little summer break. As you can see, we're still meeting virtually. Please join us in a salute to our flag. That's how we always start our meetings. Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of New Jersey, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2022 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2021, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Ms. Adams?
Here.
Ms. Cripe?
Here.
Mr. DeLuca? Mr. McGeehee?
Here.
Mayor Daffis.
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas desire the governing body to comply with the provision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be resolved by the Township Committee, the Township of Maplewood, does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observation of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Cripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes. Thank you, Township Clerk Fritzen. Welcome again, everyone. Good evening to our friends and neighbors. I want to extend a special greeting to my colleagues after a short little summer break, and a special greeting to all of you who are joining us this evening. We welcome you. We hope that you had a wonderful summer. Certainly the weather cooperated, so I hope that you all enjoyed a little respite with family out on the beach or wherever you went, and however you rested. We have a very, very big agenda tonight, so we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with a very important proclamation, Suicide Prevention Month. September is Suicide Prevention Month. We want to raise awareness, we want to reduce stigma, and we want to talk about how every single one of us in the community has a responsibility and opportunity to prevent suicide. Then we have the pleasure of appointing Chloe Barter to our Youth Advisory Committee, and we'll get to that right after the proclamation. And after that, we will have our first public comment period. We have 2 public comment periods at each governing body session. The first one is always for agenda items only. If you want to speak about an agenda item this evening, this is the time to speak. There will be a second public comment period at the end of the meeting for any other concern or remark you wish to express. Then we will have our Board of Health meeting. The Board of Health meeting is conducted once a month, not twice a month, as is the governing body. And that will be turned over to President of Board of Health, the Chair of Board of Health, Committeeman McGeehee, and our Health Officer, Candace Davenport. Then we have a few ordinances, one on final, one regulating the discharge of storm water from private property. That is an ordinance on final passage this evening. And then we have the introduction of a couple of ordinances. And tonight, finally, we will be adopting our budget, our municipal budget for 2022, after lots of discussion, presentation, and workshops throughout the year. That also includes the introduction of the budgets for our 2 special improvement districts, namely Maplewood Village Alliance and the Springfield Avenue Partnership. After that, we will hear administrative reports. We'll start with Township Administration, then we'll hear from our Township Attorney, and then again from Township Clerk Fritzen, from whom you will hear a lot from tonight. That will trigger reports from elected officials. We'll start with committee member Adams, then committee member McGehee, followed by committee member Kripe, and ending with the Deputy Mayor Vic DeLuca, and I always go last. We have 3 discussion items, and then we have a really nice consent agenda to adopt tonight. And then, as I stated earlier, we have our second public comment period for any item. All right, so with that, we'll start with our suicide prevention proclamation, special proclamation. As I mentioned, September is across the nation Suicide Prevention Month. It's an opportunity for us to raise awareness about suicide and to talk about how each of us can do something to prevent it. Certainly, we know that suicide is not something that hasn't affected us in Maplewood and in our sister town next door, South Orange. And in fact, this evening, as I was preparing for the proclamation tonight, I heard from our fire chief who shared about a suicide in his family. So this is something we really want to pay attention to. We want to increase mental health resources. We want to talk about mental health every single day, and we want to do whatever we can to reduce the stigma of this across our nation and certainly in our community. According to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death among adults in our nation, and the 2nd leading cause of death among individuals between the ages of 10 and 34. The stigma associated with mental illness and suicide continues to work against suicide prevention by discouraging those who are at risk from seeking life-saving assistance and further traumatizing survivors of suicide. The goal of Suicide Prevention Month is to destigmatize, encourage community members to know the signs of someone at risk for suicide, and to help connect people with appropriate support and resources. In Maplewood, we aim to highlight the importance of preventative measures as an essential need in our community, and we encourage all residents to join us in taking the time to understand the importance of mental health education and recognize that taking care of ourselves and others includes taking care of mental health. Therefore, Maplewood is committed to coordinating the collaborative efforts of community partners in the development and implementation of evidence-based suicide prevention, intervention, and post-intervention support. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Dean Daffis, the mayor of the Township of Maplewood, on behalf of my dear colleagues of the Maplewood Township Committee, do hereby proclaim the month of September 22 as Suicide Prevention Month. I encourage all of our residents, those of you with us tonight and everyone out there, to check out our website, our recently improved website, I might add, where we have added significant resources about suicide prevention. In recent years, suicide prevention is gaining in awareness across our nation, and there are a lot more resources than there used to be. In fact, the National Suicide Hotline has recently been rebranded to make it easier for folks at risk to reach out and have a conversation and seek necessary lifelines. You can do that by calling 988. No longer do you have to remember 1-800, 188, or any one of those long numbers. 988 will connect you to local support and resources. Again, we have updated our resources on the website. Please take some time to look after them. And if you, someone out there, we have a lot of subject matter experts in our dear community. If you are someone who works in this field and you feel that we have missed out on informing or educating about an important resource, please do let us know, and we will include that. And of course, tonight with our Board of Health agenda, you will hear more about suicide prevention from our health officer, Candace Davenport. I also want to turn it over to Township Administrator Assistant Bailey Barnett, who will tell us about a very important youth mental health training, first aid training that we are making available in our community. And there are several spots still open. If you are someone who works with youth and you want to learn how to pick up on certain signs of possible suicide ideation, this training can be a very important life-saving resource. Bailey?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, so today I'm going to be sharing a little bit of information about this youth mental health first aid training that we're offering. So it helps participants learn how to identify the signs of mental health challenges in youth ages 6 to 18, and then also how to better understand and respond to those mental health challenges. So as Mayor Daffis said, this does include signs of suicidal ideation. This also includes anxiety, depression, eating disorders, substance abuse, trauma, bullying, and other forms of crisis support and assistance. This is great, as mentioned, for anybody who works with youth. It's a 2-hour self-paced online training and then 2 virtual classes that follow that. And everybody who attends is certified in youth mental health first aid for 3 years. So this is a formal certification course. It's a really great resource. We're making it available to folks for free at no cost. And we're doing this in partnership with the Mental Health Association, our Mental Health Alliance of Morris and Essex counties, who we also work with on our crisis intervention social worker program. And then this is also funded in part through a grant from the National Council for Mental Wellbeing. I'm going to drop a flyer in the chat. But if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to Talia Jeffers in our health department. She's our vulnerable populations outreach coordinator, and her number and email are going to be available on the flyer as well.
Assistant Administrator Barnett, excellent work. Thank you for that. And thank you for dropping that information in the chat for the public to view and access very easily this evening. With that, we're going to move over to our boards and committees. Tonight, we do have an appointment to our Youth Advisory Committee. And we are considering this evening for appointment Chloe Barter. We've had the pleasure and fortune of getting to know Chloe over the summer. She was one of the interns that we worked with at Town Hall this summer through the incredible YouthNet program. Chloe worked on a lot of things for us at Town Hall, for me as well, and she's done incredible work and is very, very excited about volunteering and staying engaged and raising youth voices in the important decisions that we make as a governing body. So I'd like to turn it over to Chloe to talk about why she's interested. Chloe?
Thank you, Mayor. My internship at Town Hall this summer was one of the most rewarding extracurricular learning experiences of my life. By collaborating with numerous municipal departments and devoted civil servants, I learned firsthand about the intricacies of local government, greatly intensifying my passion for advocacy, lawmaking, and government. I cannot wait to continue my community service and maximize my impact on this vibrant town by pushing for positive change on the Youth Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Chloe. Well stated. And further evidence of your greatness this summer and your excellent work. Even when Chloe was on vacation with her family for a very short week earlier this summer, she tuned into her first Township Committee meeting. So that's dedication for you. So I will move the appointment of Chloe Barter onto our Youth Advisory Committee. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Can we have a roll call? Thank you.
Ms. Adams,
Yes, of course. Thank you, Chloe.
Ms. Coit,
Yes, welcome, Chloe.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGehee,
Yes, congratulations, Chloe.
Mayor Daffis.
Absolutely, yes. And thank you all for your support. And thank you, Chloe. Before you go, I just wanted to share here with the public, if I can make this work, I want to share with the public, you're going to be joining these fine young folk right here. Here is our Youth Advisory Committee, Maplewood's youth activists and advocates with our great governor, Governor Murphy, earlier this summer. And as the Village Green and other local press reported recently, the Youth Advisory Committee and other youth in our community are working to change the laws in the state of New Jersey to allow 16-year-olds to vote. You betcha they should, and why shouldn't we do that? And Chloe, you're going to be joining this amazing team right here, and we're excited to hear and to see what you're going to do along with this wonderful team here. So I'll stop sharing. And that campaign is called change16tovote.org. Check it out, get involved. Other communities have gotten involved in New Jersey, and this is something that other places in the nation have already done. So come on, let's do this in New Jersey for sure. All right, public comment, first period, agenda items only. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Waltz.
Good evening, Mayor and Township Committee. We will now begin the first public comment portion of the meeting on agenda items only. If any meeting attendee would like to address the committee, please use the raise your hand function. We will convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak. As a reminder, please give your first, last name, and address before addressing the committee. Would anybody like to address the committee at this time? Mayor, first we have Joe Strupp. Convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. And good to see all the Touch Committee. I wanted to first thank Frank McGahee. I saw him at the Cougar Boosters Golf last week. His group was actually golfing behind us and very patiently. And thank him and all of you who've ever taken part in that wonderful event that raises money for the high school athletics. So that was great to see. But I also want to remind you, as I've spoken to this group before, about the case of Caroline Farino. She, as you may know, is the Columbia High School student who was brutally murdered in 1966 and whose killer has never been found, although there's been much speculation. Of course, I wrote a book about the case last year that you've been nice enough to allow me to talk about. But I do want to talk about two elements related to the case. One is that the change.org site we put up with a petition has gained more than 235 signatures and counting. Is there a way I can post something in the chat to promote that? This is the change.org page. You can still go and sign that petition. We are also seeking to raise money for a bench in Memorial Park to honor Carol, and the Township Committee and the Township Clerk has been very helpful to show us the way to submit that information. We've been raising money for it. Of course, it costs $1,200 to get the bench that is appropriate for the park, which is understandable. And we thank you for helping with that. We've raised more than $1,000 for this, and hopefully you can get the rest of it. If you want to donate, I'm going to put that link up as well for the GoFundMe page. Bear with me right here.
30 seconds.
There's that. And if you can donate to that, we're going to get money to get the bench put in, and all help would be welcome. I do again ask the Township Committee to please do what you can to urge the prosecutor's office and the Maplewood Police to reopen this case. That's what the change.org petition is for. And I know Dean, Mayor Daffis, you have talked to us. I appreciate the continued efforts. If the Township Committee would please continue to make those efforts with the police and the Essex County office. And if you would want to all donate your own money to the bench, we could come up with the last $120 needed to pay for it. That would be a great addition to the park and a way to remember this victim of crime in Maplewood and a former Columbia High School student.
Now's your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Strupp. Thank you. Good seeing you. Mr. Waltz, next.
Mayor, next we have Larry Seltzer. We'll convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Seltzer, we can. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Larry Seltzer, 127 Parker, and I'm speaking about the ordinance adopting a redevelopment plan for 7 Parker Avenue West. Since the recent planning board meeting, I reread the 2004 master plan and 2011 reexamination, neither of which, by the way, are actually available on the township website. And the master plan itself doesn't say anything interesting, but the 2011 re-exam makes some points about the area that we really should consider. There's one page 40-41. Consideration should be given to adding maximum density requirements for residential uses in business zones. And Sarah, I'm going to condense things because of time. This is the redevelopment plan, so I don't know whether it's still really a business zone, but it's clearly, you know, the application, I mean, the plan is clearly inconsistent with the intent of that section. But 54 to 57 specifically addresses the redevelopment potential of the area. None of this came up in the meeting. There are currently, it says there are currently traffic issues because of Columbia and pedestrian issues. And I would add that certain times of day, the YMCA adds a significant amount of traffic into the area directly across the street from the application site. Later on, the re-exam recommends a shift to retail so as to avoid rush hour traffic problems. It says consideration should be given to changing the whole area north of Park or west of Valley to the NB zone, the requirements of which are completely inconsistent with the redevelopment plan. Maybe the 2011 re-exam has no legal force, I'm not sure, but the redevelopment
30 seconds.
Redevelopment plan seems to me to be completely inconsistent with these aspects of it. But more generally, any Maplewood resident who reads the redevelopment plan will be struck at the complete absence of any discussion of traffic in it. As for the 2011 re-exam notes, this is an area of significant congestion at certain times of day, and the redevelopment plan can only exacerbate those problems. Until measures are taken to mitigate the traffic impact, I urge
10 seconds.
I urge the Township Committee to reject the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seltzer.
Mayor, next we have Betsy Black. We'll convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, how are you?
Good evening, Ms. Black. Welcome.
I'm a resident at 467 Valley Street in Maplewood. I am also here to address the ordinance surrounding the redevelopment zone. As Larry raised, I have serious questions about traffic in the area. It's unbearable presently, and I can't imagine adding another 40 to 50 units will make it any better. I'm also kind of curious as to why one lot surrounded by school grounds and other developments is deemed as redevelopable as a redevelopment zone when the other parcels are not. I really urge you to not pass this ordinance. It's not good for the town. It's not good for students that go to Columbia. It's not good for the preschoolers that are going to the Y. And it's way out of, it's just not tenable. So I ask that you reject the ordinance and that you find another plan for the property. It feels like this is being tailor-made by certain members of the Township Committee. And I just object to the whole plan.
Thank you, Ms. Black. We appreciate your comments. We'll take those into consideration for sure.
I'm sure.
Mayor, I apologize for the next person. I only have a first name, so I'll convert Christina over to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak.
Can I ask a process question? Who is taking people out of, who's responsible for taking people out of this panelist?
That would be me, but the button's not working. So I've been messaging people asking them to leave and rejoin.
Okay, so that should be, so we should ask everyone to speak. After they're done, they should just shut their camera off.
Yes. And then actually, if they could just log out and re-log in as a panelist, that would be perfect because for some reason it's not actually processing the request.
Sorry for the technical difficulties there, folks. So who do we have up next, Mr. Waltz? Christina, I believe, yes?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. Christina, if you're with us, we'd love to hear from you. You're still muted.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me now? Hi. This is Christina Mahoney, 24 West Parker. I have lived at this address for 20 years, and I share some of the same concerns that my fellow residents have expressed. Too many questions up in the air as far as to be able to pass this. I've read the proposal and the scope that has been presented very thoroughly. I agree that this area is an eyesore. It's dangerous. Something needs to go there. It does not represent our town. However, there are 3 really big problems that need to be addressed. One of them is the contamination of this site. It is a well-known listed public New Jersey DPA site for the chemicals of dry cleaners. No, not a surprise. We have the local traffic. It's been said before. You cannot get through this intersection during certain points of the day without having difficulties. Living in the neighborhood, I do understand this. I changed my driving habits, but that's not Maplewood. It's a major east-west corridor and it's getting through. And then the third part is actually trying to build this project around some of the environmental constraints of the Raritan River. There are things you can and cannot do. And I think you're pushing it as far as developing a 48 unit building and to be able to solve all these problems from each one of those issues.
30 seconds.
What I really want to see is a traffic study. I have lived here. I know that there were proposals in 2004, 2010, 2017. Each one of those projects had a traffic study attached to them. This needs to happen. I urge the town council not to pass this because there's too many questions that need to be addressed before it can go forward, and to really make sure all the stakeholders are aware of the process, and the process is transparent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us and appreciate your remarks. Next up, Mr. Waltz.
Mayor, I apologize again. I only have a first name. Next up is Judy. We will convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak.
Welcome, Judy.
Hello, it's Judy Walker. I live at 47 Valley Street in Maplewood. And I also am concerned about the development of 7 West Parker Avenue. I live only maybe 100 yards from or less than that, from the property. Usually when a property is being redeveloped, I believe that the process includes notification of people living within a certain distance from the property seeking them from zoning. And we have received nothing. We've had no request for our input as neighbors of this particular property. And as all 3 of the previous commenters noted, there's a real traffic problem in this area. And to go ahead without requiring an independent traffic evaluation, aside from the other issues of the Raritan River and contamination of the site, which are not small issues, and I assume that those will be addressed, but it doesn't seem like there's any plan to address, and it's very, very difficult. Even, the other day I noticed I was driving home from someplace and there was someone pulling into the elite, not quite the corner, but in the same section of Valley Street across from Columbia High School, where because a car was waiting to pull into that garage, traffic was backed up for probably, I don't know, half a mile.
30 seconds.
I feel badly when I'm holding up traffic waiting to turn into the driveway at my building, which has been here since the 60s. But to permit all these additional high density buildings in this area seems to be seems short-sighted on the town's part. There are very
10 seconds.
There are very few ways, and Parker is one of the major ways. You need to look at the traffic. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. We appreciate your comments.
Mayor, next we have Jason Tebby. We'll convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, so I just wanted to, I live at 37 Brookwood Drive in Maplewood, and I just wanted to speak a little bit in favor of the decision to redevelop 7 Parker West. And the reasons for that are essentially that we are facing an affordable housing crisis in this country, in this state, and specifically in this town. The house next to mine just sold for twice what I bought mine for 8 years ago. I mean, I literally couldn't afford to live in this town if I wanted to move here today. That's a problem a lot of people are facing. It's a general problem all over communities like ours. We need more diversity of housing, which means not just single family homes, but apartments. Again, we're also facing a climate crisis. We want to build denser near transit. This site would be not such a far walk from the train station. It's also in an area that would not be displacing anyone, which again is how you want to build more new denser housing. And my feeling is that, like, it might sound weird that I'm talking about these larger problems about the climate crisis and affordable housing crisis, but the decisions we make on a local level all add up to this. And then if we get into a situation where we're not able to build denser housing because people in the area object to it, then it doesn't ever get built and we're kind of stuck. Also, I would say that, like, I understand that people would be concerned about traffic being an issue, but it's not as if when we build apartments that everyone is, coming and leaving at the exact same time. And I, as someone who lives on a side of town that has a lot of dense housing, that, I don't feel that it's materially like added a lot to the traffic that already exists. Say if I drive down Boyden to Springfield Avenue, for instance. So my feeling is that, again, it's a good thing for our town to have a broader array of housing so more kinds of people can live here.
30 seconds.
We have more housing supply, that we can lower the price. I think it's a great way to redevelop that area. I don't foresee anything else of even close to the same value we would get from those units being on that site. And so for those reasons, I'm very much in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tebby. Appreciate your comments. Next up,
Mayor, next I have David Craker. We'll convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Mr. Craker. You're still muted, sir.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
There's the video. Okay, yeah. My name is David Craker. I live at 68 Massville Terrace in South Orange, and I'm actually on the planning board in South Orange, and I also run our neighborhood association, which is Academy Heights. I have 2 comments. I'm neither for this or against it, but should the project go through, one thing we have done in South Orange and through our neighborhood, during construction, we are trying to keep access for pedestrians. So I'm really trying to get this into the thought pipeline here. I don't need a comment later on, but when the building's being built, instead of funneling people to the other side of the street and knowing that there's a high school parking lot on the other side where the building may be built, I am suggesting that you keep pedestrian access during construction. So that's my first comment. The second comment is also about the pavement or the sidewalk in front of the building that, after it's built or when the process is coming about how it will be designed, a really nice thing is to give back a little bit of green infrastructure in the front with some shade trees and some vegetation. It is a way of giving something back to the community and sort of engaging the building with the community. So those are my two comments. I don't need any rebuttal or any reply. I just want to get this into the thought pipeline, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Craker. We appreciate you taking the time, and we will take your comments into consideration and relay them as well.
Mayor, next up, I have another first name for you, Dario. We'll convert you to a panelist, allow you 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. Can everyone see me and hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome, sir.
Hi, thank you for having me. So I am also speaking in favor for the development of 7 Parker. As my fellow, I forget his name, but he did mention, the affordable housing as a great perk for the building once it's developed, and I can't agree more. It will bring young people to our town, which is what you want. I had to go out to Jersey City for my first apartment, and I wish I could have came out to Maplewood. And a building like this will just give a lot more people the opportunity to do so. And I would also like to touch up on some of the environmental issues. I am a civil engineer by day, and it is very important to me that we follow protocols in order to make sure that the environment is taken care of. And in my opinion, building a building might clear up the issues there quicker than a building standing there with no development. There's no doubt that there's probably issues going on right now from the prior owner, and I'm confident in the developer following protocols to clear up any sort of issues that may arise or that are currently there now. The traffic situation is definitely something to keep in mind, but again, there's ways to engineer around traffic control, and it really shouldn't be the thorn in our side that stops this development from going up. So I am in complete favor for the development. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments.
Mayor, next I have another first name, Wendy. We'll convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Wendy. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Wendy Donat. I live at 11 Buckingham Parkway, around the corner from the Gleason site. I want to add my voice to the people who, one, feel that the developers have done nothing to communicate with local residents. We are completely in the dark. There has been no effort to reach out to us, and that has been very frustrating, especially since the developer is local. Second, as everyone else has said, traffic is a problem. And whenever traffic on Parker backs up, which is 2 or 3 times a day, and it can back up all the way to Maplewood Avenue, people cut through our tiny little street and they come speeding down, and it's incredibly unsafe. So if this development goes forward, we would like to make sure something happens to keep our children safe and to prevent people from using Buckingham Gardens as a cut through from Parker to Jefferson. Personally, I support more affordable housing, and if this were developed, I would want a greater percentage of the apartments set aside for affordable housing. However, steps need to be taken before this site is developed to ensure that the surrounding neighborhoods are kept safe. And also, as the previous commentator said, we need to make sure that students can continue to reach Columbia High School safely, because this is a major artery. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time and your thoughtful comments. We appreciate you taking the time, Ms. Donat.
Mayor, next I have Taryn Miller. We'll convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak.
Hello. Everybody can see me, everybody can hear me?
Yes, sir. Welcome.
Okay. I live at 8 Buckingham Gardens Parkway. As we like to say, the shortest street with the longest name in Maplewood. But we are also, my driveway backs up essentially to Denell just after the train tracks. And I also am speaking against passing this ordinance for the development of the Gleason site, particularly not because it's affordable housing, but because, first of all, the area is zoned for business. Passing this ordinance, I understand, would change the zoning as opposed to their having to apply for a variance, which a developer normally would have to do in a case where they wanted to put a business or a property in a location that was zoned differently before their application. Secondly, I don't know if any of you have ever been on Parker during a flood, which have been known to happen on occasion as the river crests its banks, even though it looks like a creek, or as we get runoff down the hill from the reservation. But during snowstorms and floods, people cannot make it under the train trestle to get up Parker heading towards Prospect. And yet many parents try, especially during snowstorms. During the last major snowstorm, we had every kind of vehicle, including a mail truck and school buses, stuck all over our streets, making it difficult for them to be plowed because people were desperate to get to the school. And I can only imagine how it will be when there are 41 more units. And I'd like to know, since the neighbors weren't notified by the developer, if other stakeholders have similarly not been notified, being the high school, the South Orange Maplewood Independent School District, which has property adjacent or nearby to the planned development, and the residents, and the YMCA, and the businesses that are on Valley. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We appreciate your comments.
Mayor, next I have Heath Brown. Converts to a panelist, allow you 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for this discussion. I have been walking by the Gleason site since 1989. I'm a proud graduate of Columbia High School and have seen this site deteriorate. The opportunity for this to be developed in the way that this group has planned it is really exciting. I'm also a neighbor. I'm at 30 West Parker. And as a result of that, I saw the flood, literal flood of water coming down West Parker. Not a trickle of water last year at this time, but a flood. It was dangerous. It was dangerous for everyone living on that street. So dangerous that there was a car abandoned immediately outside of this site. The flooding of the river has to be taken seriously. And there's no indication yet that the severity of the flooding potential in the future has been. Now, it may be the case that this has already been incorporated into the planning, but as a stakeholder, as a member of the neighborhood, as an alumni of the high school, we haven't been engaged to the extent that we can. So we don't know the answer to that question and many of the other questions that everyone in this community has asked. So we'd like to be involved. We'd like to be involved more than we have been. And I think we all look forward to in the next stages here. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Appreciate your comments.
Mayor, I see no one else.
Okay, before we close the public comment period, I wanted to address some of the very important concerns. We certainly do a terrible job of informing people of the process. So I'd like to take this opportunity to inform about the process. The most important thing that I think is important for people to keep in mind is that we are not approving or not approving a project tonight. We're not. We're not doing that. There is no project. There is no site plan. There's nothing. That has to come later. If, capital IF, if the person who bought the site and is interested in looking into developing it, redeveloping it, decides to move forward with the redevelopment. There is no project. When the person, the local developer decides, if the local developer decides to do so in accordance with the parameters that we put into place through the redevelopment agreement, then they are required to go before the planning board and to submit plans of all kinds, including a traffic study, flood mitigation, density, zoning, and all kinds of things through public hearings. And they are required, before they do any of that, to notify all of the neighbors, at least those within 200 feet. But we're not there yet. The only thing that we're doing tonight is the following. All municipalities under the land use law of our great state of New Jersey have the following power. They have the power to declare an area in need of rehabilitation or redevelopment. That is a power that exists for all municipalities. And there are criteria that you consider in whether or not something, a parcel of land rather, qualifies in need of rehabilitation or redevelopment. In this instance, as some of the commenters have already noted, this is an area in need of significant environmental remediation. And that is why the Township of Maplewood exercised its powers to engage in a redevelopment agreement with the developer, a local resident who lives right around the corner of the site, decided to buy the former Gleason's lot and is looking into developing it. Now, when the township exercises their power, what's the idea behind this? The idea is not to give freebies to the developers at the expense of residents. Oh no, the idea is for the township to put certain parameters into place so that we can control the development that goes up there, that we can put certain things into place, and that redeveloper, again, if they decide to develop this site eventually, they have to agree to our demands. Those demands are outlined in the redevelopment agreement. We have reached an agreement with the redeveloper, and we have said, these are our requirements. So that's the process. Tonight, we don't have a project that we're looking at. We're not looking at a site plan. We're not looking at, what this thing is going to look at. All we have is a concept. That's all we have. And those discussions will happen with the public, and they will happen through the planning board process. And of course, should a project move forward, notifications will be made, as they're required by law to be made, to the neighbors surrounding the project. I just wanted to put that out there because I think, again, this is kind of complicated land use stuff, and we don't want to give anyone the impression that tonight what we're approving or not approving is a site plan, is what this thing is going to look like and what its effects are going to be. I want to invite any of my colleagues and or our township attorney to provide any supporting remarks to what I said, if necessary. Anyone?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay, great. So again, more to come on this through the planning board if this thing moves forward. And thank you again for all of you who took the time out to express your concerns. We will be having these discussions for sure if a project moves forward. Okay, we're closing the public comment period and we're moving over to our Board of Health meeting, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to Committee Member McGeehee and Health Officer Candace Davenport.
Thank you, Mayor. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231 of Public Laws of 1975, this is the state for the record the adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2022 to the news record and Star Ledger December 2021, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Ms. Adams?
Here.
Ms. Creighton?
Here.
Mayor Daffis?
Here.
Mr. DeLuca?
Here.
Mr. McGeehee?
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the Board of Health has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas desire the Maplewood Board of Health to comply with the provision of this act, same time and conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be resolved by the Maplewood Board of Health, Township of Maplewood, does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the Board of Health by the public, and except as otherwise described by law, does limit the public to the observation of the actions and discussions of the Board of Health at all its regular and special meetings.
So moved. Seconded.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Creighton?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the August 2nd, 2022 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Abstain.
Ms. Creighton?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee?
Yes, thank you again, Ms. Fritzen. We'll now move on to the next part of our agenda, which is our report from our health officer, Ms. Davenport. I yield the floor to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to minimize this here. Okay. Here's our Board of Health presentation for this evening. Thank you so much to everyone for speaking about Suicide Prevention Month. I just want to make everyone aware of what Mayor DeLuca had mentioned, Mayor Daffis had mentioned, excuse me, of the 988 phone number, which is the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. We also at the Health Department want to promote this, as well as the information about the Youth Mental Health First Aid Training in Maplewood for Maplewood. It originally was open to our partners and our employees, but we're also opening up to anyone in our community who'd be interested to do that, as the Assistant Business Administrator had mentioned. It is 2-hour self-paced, and then there's 2 virtual classes that follow that on Tuesday, September 20th, and Thursday, September 22nd for 3 hours. It's a worthwhile program. I attended it and have been trained. It's a phenomenal program. And you're trained for 3 years, but it gives you a sense of how to not only talk about suicide, but also how to have the conversation and recognize when someone might be in crisis. So I would highly recommend that people contact, if they are interested to attend this intensive training, to reach out to our health department and Talia Jeffers in our department. On that note, oh, my picture cannot be displayed. Sorry about that. But taking our cue from the Drug-Free New Jersey program, one of the things that you might see, which you can't see here, sorry about that, but one of the things that you can see if you are on the corner of Valley Street and I believe it's Oakland Road, or by the Maplewood Pool, if you're looking at it from Boyden Avenue, as well as at the DeHart Park basketball. You'll notice that there's a poster there, or a banner that says parents who spend 15 minutes per day improve their child's health and well-being. So while Mayor Daffis had mentioned in the proclamation that people who are most at risk are for suicide are unfortunately the ages of 10 to 34. Just spending 15 minutes a day with those you love from early age up into young adulthood, when we could all use some companionship or just someone to talk to. Just that 15 minutes a day can make a huge difference in someone's life. So it seems like a small thing, but it really does make a difference, as studies have shown. Moving on to communicable and infectious diseases, as always, we report our COVID stats. For August, we've seen 262 cases for a township total of 6,970 cases. However, there is something wrong with my, hold on one second, please. This is not working properly. Let's try this. Okay. There was something wrong with my my presentation for some reason. Bear with me for 1 second, if you will, while I try to pull up my presentation again. Not sure why it's acting this way, but the visuals do help. Sorry.
Take your time, Ms. Davenport.
I apologize. This has never happened before. This is what happens when you come back from vacation. Sorry. All right, let's see if that works.
Even the computers don't want to work, right?
Oh my goodness, I know. They're like, we're all on vacation. Okay, so I've put this, can you all see this on your screen?
No, we cannot.
No, you haven't shared it.
Oh, I see. Hold on one second. Go back, share my screen. Okay, can you see that now?
Yep.
Awesome, yay, okay. So that worked. Okay. Oh my goodness. My pictures have all been deleted. Oh my goodness. All right. I'm going to try to, what I will do is I will provide my presentation to everyone afterward so that everyone can see this and it'll be posted to the public. But one of the things I wanted to highlight is that the numbers are important, but the August, what's really important is that, I'm going to stop my sharing, is that our numbers generally have gone down. Maplewood is showing a decline in COVID cases by month, as well as our region. We are now in low community transmission. This is a very good sign for all of us who are moving our kids back into school and going back to school and learning. So this is a good time to return back to school, and COVID is looking great. One thing I do want to mention though about COVID is that there is a new booster for the Omicron variant. So that booster is now is now a bivalent. That means that there's 2 strains in it, similar to what a flu vaccine would have, multiple strains in one vaccine. The county is offering the new Omicron variant booster starting this week. So Thursday, Friday from 2 to 7, as well as Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Because they have a small and limited supply, they do highlight that the appointments should be made at the Essex County Health Department website. They have appointments that are available there. So that is the one thing that I did want to mention for COVID. For monkeypox, on our website, we have the most recent page that highlights where people can get tested as well as vaccine for monkeypox. I believe that the numbers of cases that we have statewide right now are low. They have not expanded to the extent that people were afraid that they would. However, that I believe that the number is about 900 cases statewide. So we still strongly suggest that people get tested and vaccinated. There are now, I believe, over 10 sites statewide where people can access that information. I'm just going to refer to our my agenda here. As for the summer meals program update, while I'm not able to show you what the testimonies were, I do have to say that in our 4th year, so many people have said thank you so much for everything that we have provided to them. Many people have used the words, please have this program return. We've relied on this program. And one thing that one of the residents had mentioned was, thank you, President McGehee. One of the things that people have mentioned is that because of inflation that we are going through and just hitting some hard times financially, families in our own community have really relied on these free summer meals of breakfast and lunches for their families. It has really helped them a lot. So thank you so much to the Township Committee for your continual support of this program on behalf of all the children and young families out there. I also want to give a shout out to Mr. Marcel McNeil, who is a site supervisor, as well as the countless volunteers in our community who have been dedicated, diverse, hardworking, and super friendly. In fact, the supervisor from Irvington who came to review the program said that this was one of the nicest and friendliest and most professionally run sites. So I think that they want us to continue. So looking forward into the future, I hope that we can continue that into our 5th year, which would be next year. As for Braven Health screening, we had our screening on August 29th, and we have one upcoming at the end of September as well. So hope people will take advantage of that at the Senior Center. Thank you, even those crossed out, that's great. At the Senior Center at the end of September. It will be on a Monday, it'll be the last, I believe, last Monday. After September, we begin to look at health insurance sign up. So Braven Health will no longer be providing this monthly health screening there because they're going to be focusing and switching hats into open enrollment period for health insurance. So we definitely want to advocate and support that for anyone who's looking to get health insurance, change health insurance because of, lifestyle, life changes. But they also will be at our farmers market on October 3rd. So please do take advantage of that because they're a great program. They offer diabetes, cholesterol, and blood pressure screening, all of which to say we will also be offering at our Maplewood Health and Wellness Fair on September 10th. That is this Saturday from 12 to 3. It will be held at Maple Crest Park. Not only will we have Braven Health there, we will have an exorbitant and wonderful array of healthcare providers from Rutgers STI, that is their sexually transmitted diseases clinic. We will have therapy dogs and bunnies that'll be there focusing on mental health. We will have exercise, 3 different types of exercises. And just as with everything that we do from like summer meals to our health and wellness fair, I just want to say thank you not only to the health department staff, but also to our partners in the Department of Community Services and Department of Public Works and our police department for always making sure that all of our programs run smoothly. So hopefully everyone will attend on Saturday, September 10th from 12 to 3 p.m. in Maple Crest Park. And I believe that I will provide more information about the health assessment that we did through Sustainable Jersey. for the township. I believe we had 190 responses. I can give you more details about what it included, but I think that based on the public comment from before, when people talk about traffic, one of the things that did come up was pedestrian safety, bicycle safety, things of that nature. So in my PowerPoint, which I will again share with everyone, the Essex County is providing is creating a transportation plan, and they're looking for feedback. So if anyone is interested, they are having focus groups this month on a variety of things, and it might be good for another opportunity for our residents to get their word out about what some of their concerns are, not just, you know, this finite local thing, but in general to have an impact on Essex County affairs. And I believe that that is it for me. Oh, wait, there's one more that I do remember. We are having our flu vaccine clinic, our township drive-through flu clinic on October 15th. That'll be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the back of Town Hall. I know we're only preparing for September, but October is just around the corner. Oh, thank you. So that'll be October 15th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And in the back of Town Hall. And it'll be $20 for all residents 18 to 64 and free for all of our seniors 65 and over. If anyone has any questions about the COVID Omicron booster, my apologies. We had some most excellent slides, but you can always call the health department and we can explain who is eligible for the booster, when to get the booster. But essentially, there's two vaccines. Pfizer is available for the Omicron booster for 12 and over. The Moderna booster, which is with Omicron, bivalent vaccine is only available for 18 and over. For those who have children 5 to 11 years old, they will still only be able to get the single monovalent booster, not the Omicron booster at this time because it has not been approved for that age group. And with that, I will end my presentation. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
No worries, Ms. Davenport. And what we can do is working with Ms. Barnett with our weekly newsletter that we send out to most residents. We can add a link in there to your report, taking them to as a call to action to the website, and they can look at the report.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Would any of my colleagues like to address the Board of Health?
I would, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to share some of the testimonials on the summer meals program. Health Officer Davenport was so kind to share them with me, and I really enjoyed reading them. I won't read all of them, but I have highlighted a few which really make the point, right? A lot of times we hear from people and they say, you know, why are you spending on this stuff? This is not a need in our community. And let me tell you, it's a need in our community. Some of the testimonials go like this. We really appreciate this program. Please bring it back. We've been struggling financially, and it's been a struggle getting enough food. One testimonial says, I really appreciate this program. It was a huge help and blessing this summer. The children enjoyed the meals, and they look forward to them all summer. We hope this program continues next summer as well. We love the program. It's nice I can receive breakfast and lunch for my kids. It's been a struggle financially. One says, this is a very good program. At first, I was ashamed to take lunch, but it became one of my to-go things and helped me. Thanks, Maplewood. That's from one of our kids in our community. How can you deny that? So anyway, there's many, many more. And thank you again, Health Officer Davenport, and thank you, Chairman McGeehee, for allowing me the opportunity to share a few of those.
Thanks, Mayor. Wonderful to hear words, from our community, to showing the value that we already knew existed in this program. So onward, upward for the program, 100%. Would any of my other colleagues like to address the Board of Health? All right, seeing none, I will now open up public comment. I'll yield the floor to Mr. Waltz to see if there's anyone who'd like to address the Board of Health at this time.
I see no one, Mr. McGehee.
Thank you, Mr. Waltz. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment for this month, and I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn. Our next scheduled meeting will be on Tuesday, October 4th.
Mr. McGehee, just one little correction. The next meeting will be on Monday, October 3rd.
Because
That
because
adjustment is due to the Jewish holiday in October. We're moving up.
thank you. Duly noted. Appreciate that intel. So correction, we will have our next scheduled meeting for Monday, October 3rd, and I'm still entertaining a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Awesome.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGehee.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Mayor, I yield the floor back to you, and thank you, Ms. Davenport.
Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. McGehee. And thank you, Township Clerk Fritzen. You don't miss a beat ever. So this brings us to the final passage of an ordinance and the introduction of a couple of ordinances. We're going to start with ordinance number 3066-22.
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance number 3066-22 is an ordinance to amend chapter 223 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Sewers. This ordinance will regulate the discharge of stormwater from private property onto the public right of way.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Before I open it up to public comment, are there any comments from my colleagues on the governing body?
No.
Seeing none, I'm gonna ask for a motion. Oh, no, I'm gonna open up to public comment, sorry. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this ordinance?
See no one, Mayor.
Okay, no one, seeing none. For real this time, I'm gonna ask for a motion.
Mayor, I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Thank you, I second the motion.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Introduction of an ordinance number 3067-22, please.
Yes, Mayor. Item number 10, ordinance number 3067-22 is an ordinance to designate Harvard Avenue at the intersection of Rutgers as a stop street. This ordinance will designate Harvard Avenue at Rutgers Street as a stop street.
Can we get a motion, Mr. DeLuca?
I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on September 20th, 2022.
A second.
Ms. Adams,
No.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thanks again, Ms. Fritzen. Ordinance number 3068-22.
Yes, Mayor. It's an ordinance adopting a redevelopment plan for the 7 Parker Avenue West. This ordinance will adopt a redevelopment plan for the site at 7 Parker Avenue West.
I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a public hearing to be held on September 20th, 2022.
I'll second that.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. And now we're moving on to a very important topic, our municipal budget. We're finally adopting our municipal budget this evening, and we're going to start with resolution number 267-22.
Yes, Mayor. Read by title, it's a resolution to read the budget by title.
Yes, I'm going to move the adoption of resolution number 267-22.
I'll second it.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Croy,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thanks again, Ms. Fritzen. And the analogous resolution number 268-22, the adoption.
Yeah, Mayor, do you want to open it up for public hearing at this time?
Of course, as we are in final adoption, absolutely. Are there members of the public, Mr. Waltz, who wish to comment on our budget, on the adoption of our budget?
I see no one, Mayor.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. Ms. Fritzen?
Yes, Mayor, read by title, resolution 268-22 is the adoption of the 2022 municipal budget.
I move the adoption of resolution 268-22, the adoption of our 2022 budget.
I'll second the motion.
Ms. Adams,
Yes, just in time to start the next budget.
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen.
The budget is adopted.
Thank you. Hallelujah. Long time getting here this year, and that will not happen again. Introduction of Maplewood Village Alliance budget, resolution number 273-22.
Mayor, also by title, that's an introduction of the 2022 SID Maplewood Village Alliance budget. Let me just add at this point, Mayor, that there will be a public hearing on September 20th, and two criteria that must be met. Township clerk provide notice as required by law concerning the levying of the special district assessment, and the Maplewood Village Alliance budget be published in accordance with the law upon this introduction. So now if you'd like to move second and take a vote on resolution 273-22.
I have a question for Mr. Kaloje, or anyone who could answer it. Have the both special improvement districts been able to get any of their assessment payments this year, or they still haven't gotten any because this wasn't passed?
We have been making the payments, committee woman, but this will finalize the last two payments.
Okay. That's all. Thanks.
Absolutely. Good question. Thank you for asking it. I'm going to move the adoption of resolution number 273-22, introducing the 2022 Maplewood Village Alliance budget.
I'll second the motion, Mayor.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. And of course, Springfield Avenue Partnership, resolution number 274-22.
Yes, Mayor, that's the introduction of the 2022 SID Springfield Avenue Maplewood Partnership Budget with a hearing at our next meeting on September 20th. The Township clerk has provided notice as required by law concerning the levying of the special district assessment, and the Springfield Avenue Partnership budget will be published in accordance with the law upon this introduction. So now would be time to get a motion in a second for resolution 274-22, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Fritzen. I'm going to move the adoption of resolution number 274-22, introducing the 2022 Springfield Avenue Maplewood Partnership budget.
I'll second the motion, Mayor.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. We're going to move over to administrative reports at this point. Item number 14 in the agenda tonight. We're going to start with Township Administrator Jimes. Mr. Jimes, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief tonight. As you know, as the Township Committee knows, I had been on a modified leave for the past 3 or 4 weeks as a result of a personal issue. The leave itself was not, was expected. The timing of said leave ended up being unexpected earlier than I anticipated. So I thank you for your patience in that regard. I am therefore back on a full-time, regular schedule as of today, here every day in the office. So I am back. During that time, I have been engaged, obviously, as you know, because we've spoken several times. That's been largely personnel and litigation related, so not germane to discussions here in the public comments. But you have been briefed significantly on some of the committee has been briefed on various issues. I would just like to thank Assistant Administrator Barnett for steering the ship very admirably as a seasoned professional as she is. In my absence, we were in touch daily, of course, but she did an excellent job over the last 3.5 to 4 weeks. Lastly, I just want to thank you for passing the budgets tonight. It was obviously not an ideal situation. And as I've said numerous times in public and in these public meetings, that the process did not meet the expectations that I, of my office, and how I expect to produce an output to this Township Committee. And as the Mayor said, it won't happen again. And I can assure you of that with absolute 100% certainty. But I do thank you for moving us along and being there with us by our side through this process. With that, I'll turn it over to my deputy, Ms. Barnett, and she will provide a report on behalf of my office for the last couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple quick updates for you this evening. So first and foremost, I know that as school is starting up this week, there have been some concerns that we've heard from the community regarding the discontinuation of courtesy busing. So I just wanted to give a quick outline of everything that the township is doing in response to that and in response to some community concerns, particularly with regards to elementary schools in high traffic areas and the students that will be walking there. So there will be a township e-blast going out later this evening detailing all of this, and this information will also be on the township website, but just so that folks are aware, in addition to pre-existing safety measures, the townships implemented a few additional measures surrounding Seth Boyden and Delia Bolden elementary schools in particular, again, because these are in high traffic areas. So that includes increased barriers and signage in those areas, such as increased pedestrian crossing signs, restriping along Tuscan Street and Boyden Avenue to prioritize pedestrian safety, and this was completed last week. And then there will also be designated drop-off zones near school entrances as indicated by county light up message boards and township signage. In addition to the above measures, the townships also increased the enforcement of property maintenance codes for individuals who have shrubbery blocking driver visibility or pedestrian visibility along these walking paths to ensure that students who may be walking to school are able to be seen. The township will also be strongly enforcing parking regulations to address any obstructions to sidewalk access and the flow of pedestrian traffic so that students aren't needing to walk into the road to follow their routes to school, or making sure those sidewalks remain accessible to them. And then last but not least, the township is designating Harding and Brown Streets near Seth Boyden as one-way roads from 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. and then from 2:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. This is to accommodate an anticipated increase in drop-off traffic for Seth Boyden. I know that similar setups already exist at other schools, but this is a new change. Residents on those streets have been advised of the change, and we had a meeting with them to discuss it. This is temporary in terms of the decision regarding both how long those drop-off times will be in the morning and the afternoon, and then also to see if there's additional adjustments that need to be made. During these times, also Henry Place will be closed to through traffic and open only to Henry Place residents. So again, these are all measures that have been put into place as of now. Obviously, school isn't started, so there may be additional concerns that come up that need to be addressed, or we might find that some of these measures are not as necessary as we're thinking right now. We're all learning and going into this together. This is a new situation for everyone, so we just really appreciate everyone's patience as we work to try to get our kids to school as safely as possible. And then just another couple of quick updates. One is that we have new registrar hours. So anybody needing to make a registrar appointment can email E.Starzinski at maplewoodnj.gov to make that appointment. And the new hours are from 5 to 7 p.m. on Tuesdays and Fridays. So it's the same hours for Tuesdays and Fridays now. They used to be different. And then also just a quick note, that town hall will be closing at 1 p.m. this Friday in order to observe our annual employee appreciation picnic. And then just a quick note that administration will be attending the ICMA conference from September 17th through September 21st. We'll both be available over email and of course via phone, but we will be in the lovely Columbus, Ohio, attending that conference and meeting with some fellow professionals in our field. And some of the topics that I'm personally looking forward to attending seminars on are climate planning and resiliency, diversity, equity, and inclusion in local government, and employee and community mental health and mental wellness. So looking forward to that. And last but not least, I have a feeling that Deputy Mayor DeLuca is going to touch on this, but I just want everyone to know we got our sustainable jersey application submitted for the second round. And again, I'm sure he'll touch on this a little bit more, so I'll leave it at that, but just something very exciting on the township side of things. And we are very glad to have crossed the finish line, and we're pretty proud of our work this year. So thanks to all of my colleagues who worked on that as well. And a huge thank you to the volunteers in the township who took time to submit actions as well as members of our Green Team and Sustainability Committee.
Thank you, Ms. Burnett. That's quite a great report. Are there any questions or comments from?
I have a question, Mayor, if I may, Ms. Barnett. With regard to these street closures and direction changes, this is by order of the Chief of Police, and he's just issued a directive to that effect?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, would you circulate that directive, please? I have not seen it.
Yes.
Okay, and just make sure, please, that he puts down whatever dates that it's going to be for, or through whatever date, and then he can extend it or cut it off whenever it's appropriate. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Ms. Burnett? Not seeing any. I just want to commend you, Ms. Burnett, for overseeing a lot of this, including the scramble, the township scramble to meet the need. Again, we don't make the busing decisions. That was a different governing body. They made decisions. We are doing what we can on our end to ensure pedestrian safety for our students and their families during drop off and pickup in the affected schools as a result of the school board's decision. And thank you again for working on that, and look forward to seeing that communication. Okay, we're going to move over to Township Attorney, Mr. Desiderio.
Mayor, I have no report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Desiderio. Any questions for Mr. Desiderio? Seeing none, I'm going to move over to our Township Clerk, Ms. Fritzen.
Thank you, Mayor. So just a couple of things, and Ms. Barnett took a couple of my topics, so my report will be a little shorter than normal, and I know you'll love that. I just to say once again, and this was advertised actually in our 2022 Township Committee meeting notice. We are going to be moving, we're scheduled to the meeting for Monday, October 3rd, and that's due to Yom Kippur. So we'll be getting, that information out to the public. I just wanted to say that, yes, we have a wonderful employee recognition activity planned for Friday. It's well deserved. And I had a committee that worked on that with me, and it should be a nice special day for the township employees. We've had several event planning meetings for large events that are coming up. We just continue to have a lot of larger scale events that we have the planning meetings for. Just for Ms. Cripe and Ms. Adams, I do think that we need to at some point have the Maplewood stock wrap-up meeting. And I'm sort of waiting for everybody to get back from vacation, and I will schedule that. But, they're anxious to have that as well.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you an actual question to your report, and that was going to be it. So you already did it.
Just like ESP all the way around here today. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Any questions for Ms. Fritzen other than the one that was already covered? Okay, seeing none, thank you again. We're moving over to reports from elected officials, and we're going to start with Committee Member Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I hope to be able to stop by the employee picnic. I had planned on it, but my assistant is got to meet with her surgeon and I need to man my work office, so I may not be able to get there. So please, if I don't get there, give my regrets and my gratitude to all the employees. I want to thank the Hilton Neighborhood Association for Porch Fest, which unfortunately I was out of town and I couldn't make it, but I know it went well. I missed the honking parade. Oh, well, but a great video came up on my memories on Facebook of Carol Buchanan kicking off that parade a few years back. And so it was nice to remember Carol, whose initiative is now the annual Porch Fest. So thank you for all the work on that by everybody and all the musicians giving their time. I'm working on just a couple things real quick for code. I've distributed to the code committee, or actually Ms. Barnett will be distributing a draft of the regulations for parklets and streeteries, since we've gotten a directive from the Village Alliance Board and from this board that we are going to be moving forward with parklets and streeteries, and we are now coming up with regulations to guide us on those. I hope to have a draft of the same to this committee. If not the next meeting in September, then first meeting in October to codify those regulations. And I'll obviously, once the code committee discusses them, I don't know, Mr. Desiderio, if you're available for the next code committee meeting, might be helpful.
Sure, just send me an email when it is. I'll make arrangements to be there.
Yeah, it's next Tuesday morning at 8. But yeah, for sure. I'm sure Bailey will include you in that distribution. So, and then I want to thank Paul Kittner and his department for working really hard to be proactive, as the recycling committee, the joint recycling committee of South Orange and Maplewood have been working for years, it feels like, but I guess it's only been about a year, on trying to garner more bids for our recycling contracts for collection. And the engineering department, when we had been asking for a proactive outreach by our departments to make sure people are seeing these bids. And so we're hoping that the 25 firms that he and his staff found and reached out to directly, we get more than the annual one bid on our recycling contact. So we'll see. And I just want to share my screen if I can. I just want to encourage people, even though it rained all day today, thank God, to conserve water. Believe me, your grass, if it's dying or if it's dead, will come back next year. And so we really need people to conserve our water, and it'll not only save you money, but it is a finite resource, even though it doesn't feel like it comes from a place where everybody gets their water. It's something that we take for granted, and it's something we need to make sure that we use as necessary. And watering our lawns is not a necessary use for water. So watering plants and shrubbery and trees, yes, but not our lawns. So just asking the public to please conserve their use of our water so that we can all have some. And if we get another drought next year, we're still in a drought. Let's not forget that. So that's my report, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Adams. Appreciate that. Committee member McGehee.
Oh, thanks, Mayor. Just a couple of things really quick. First, as you may see on the agenda tonight, resolution number 283-22 is a resolution appointing David Hoy as fire captain in our fire department, effective tomorrow. Just want to congratulate Captain Hoy for all his efforts with our department up to this moment, and wish him the best as he now becomes a captain. And also, while on that vein, the South Essex Fire Department continues to be moving forward. We're 2 months under our belt. Myself and Mr. Desiderio and Mr. DeLuca met with our colleagues in South Orange today, and we continue to iron out a few little tweaks here and there, but So far, morale is great. The departments are now one department working together in community, spending time at all three firehouses. And we have some hirings that'll be coming very shortly that we're very excited about as well. So we're moving in the right direction. And it's great to see that this work that's happened for several decades really has come to fruition. And we'll do something more publicly, I believe we said in October, months ahead. So continuing on public safety, we're all cognizant of some of the recent upticks in some crime in our community. The chief is cognizant of that, and he is working diligently on incremental plans to address those things as well. That's it for me, Mayor, and thank you very much. And I'll yield the floor over to Ms. Cripe.
Thank you. Ms. Cripe?
Thank you. Also a very short report. Most of our committees took this month off as well, part of the month off. So I wanted to give a big shout out and kudos to Assistant Administrator Barnett and everyone involved in the Sustainable New Jersey. Woodbridge, we're coming for you. We're going to get that gold designation, so you won't be the only ones holding it on. And for New Jersey, I brought a little friend here with me. This is Shivers. And in case you guys weren't aware that this Saturday, as a way of closing out our season at the pool, we will be having Doggy Day. So for those of you who have a furry friend at home who drives you mad like this 12 pounds of fury I have in my life, please bring your dogs. And if you have not had your dog licensed already in Maplewood, our health officer, Ms. Davenport, will have someone on hand from our administration to help you get your dog registered. It's $15 for the license, and there will be people on site to help you do that. Finally, as we go into our new year with camps coming to an end, I wanted to extend a huge congratulations to Director Mancuso and her entire staff for a wonderful summer of programming, from tennis camps to art to the day camp over at the Heart Center on down to goat yoga, where they had to put in a fence because the goats got too big. I just want to extend a huge thank you for them and all the hard work and effort they put in. And finally, as this year is about to begin for school, I wanted to encourage folks to take the time to leave a few minutes early, to take a deep breath and not take that traffic interaction personal, so that our kids and we can get where we need to go every morning and the afternoon safely. This is going to be my last year, and I think yours too, Frank. We have graduating seniors. So this will be the last year of dealing with that commute. And I really would hope that many folks will have the experience that I know I have had, which has been quite pleasant, knowing that there are people around the community always keeping eyes out on our kids. So if you can, give yourself an extra 10 minutes, take it to a little slower, maybe find an alternate route if you'll have to go by the elementary schools or any of the schools, so that our kids can start off their new year safely. So thank you. And that's all I have. I'll pass it on to our Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Cripe. Deputy Mayor DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. This Tuesday night at 7:30, that's September 13th, we're going to have a Zoom information meeting on Lexington Avenue, the paving and work we're going to be doing there. One of the resolutions tonight is to award that contract. We'll also be talking about the proposed dead end idea for Lexington Avenue at the corner of Burnett Avenue and Tuscan Street there. And again, we'll put that on the township website. So Ms. Barnett, I will send you that information. Porch Fest was great, a little hot, but it was great. We had 27 porches. I want to thank the members of the Maplewood Community Band, Susan and Ben Williams. They really worked very hard on this. And also Bill Talley, who was the original idea person for this after having seen it up in New England. It was a great day. And I want to thank the police department, because we have a meeting with them. Susan and I have a meeting with them to do the planning for this, and they were very helpful and very responsive. And lastly, I just want to, again, you heard before on Sustainable Jersey or Silver certification. We submitted 61 actions for a potential total of 675 points. That's nearly double what we would have gotten last year. So, I'm sorry, 3 years ago. So it was a incredible effort by a lot of people, our writing team, and putting all together all the documents. So I just want to thank everyone. And in November, hopefully, we'll be very proud as the municipality in population to have the most points. That was our goal that Ms. Barnett set out. We jointly set out last year. So hopefully we will meet that. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor DeLuca, and nice work on the sustainability application. I know that's a heavy lift, and I really want to see that gold. I know we can get there because we do so many great things here. I also want to congratulate, actually, before I move forward with my report, I'll entertain a motion to extend our meeting tonight beyond 9:30.
I'll move it. Second.
Ms. Adams,
Yeah.
Ms. Croy,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yep.
Mr. McGehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes. What can I tell you? We talk too much and we do too much. This is why our agendas are so fulsome. Okay, so as I was going to say, I also want to congratulate the Hilton Association and all of the volunteers and all of the musicians who put this year's Porch Fest together. It was really a lot of fun. It was really hot out there, unexpectedly so. There was very little shade to be found, but it was really a lot of fun, and it was great to reconnect with people again after not seeing them in person for so long. And I think a lot of people were out there just having pure fun. And thank you to the police department for closing off streets and being so quick about it, and for everyone's patience in the Hilton neighborhood. For, it was kind of hard getting in and out of your house if you had to get somewhere. So thank you for your patience. I didn't really see any honking, and I was walking around everywhere on Sunday.
Mayor, before you start your report, may I have a point of order, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I was in correspondence with our health officer, Ms. Davenport, and she requested I put on a record a correction in her presentation.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So as of 9/2/22, there were only 568 monkeypox cases in New Jersey, not 900 as previously stated. So that's a significant decline in that initial number.
Very important information. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate the interjection. They are important to do so.
Yep.
Great. So if you didn't get your recycling picked up today, don't fret. It will get picked up tomorrow. Mine didn't get picked up either. So just leave it out tonight, and it'll get picked up before the end of the day tomorrow. Our master plan virtual workshop has been extended until the 16th of September. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from everyone out there. We're looking for a little bit more feedback, especially from our older population. And the information is available in Spanish and in Creole if English is not your first language. So if you have a neighbor who has an important opinion, but English is not their first language, please share it with them in the other language that it is available, so that we can get your input. And as soon as we close that on the 16th, the next step will be to actually start building our public engagement sessions. And that's going to be the real fun stuff. Some of them will be virtual, some of them will be in person, and everyone will have an opportunity to truly build our master plan of now and of the next generation for Maplewood, for the next 10 years anyway. The joint meeting, I think I sent some information to my colleagues about the joint meetings, emergency meeting that was called a couple of weeks ago in August. We want to move forward with some necessary improvements to the facility, especially as it had some issues, and there was construction approved and authorized back in 2018, but Tropical Storm Ida last year exacerbated some of those issues, and the joint meeting met an emergency session to alert all of the members, all the municipal members, that what we thought it was going to cost is going to be a lot more than that. In fact, nearly double the amount. So I will be sharing information about that with the public at the next meeting once we have a better idea of the numbers, a confirmed idea of the numbers rather, and of Maplewood's share. And I've been working with the CFO on that. It's not going to affect our budget that we just adopted tonight or put us in a precarious situation. And I also want to note that all of the municipalities voted unanimously in favor of moving forward with the construction, because obviously the risks are really high if we do nothing, and the construction is only going to get more and more expensive if we continue to delay the project. So more on that at the next meeting. The Community Board on Police will meet tomorrow night starting at 7:30. We still meet virtually. Please come and join us to learn about what we're doing, how you can help shape public safety in our town. I want to really give a shout out to a new theater nonprofit local organization called Soma Stage, South Orange Maplewood Stage. They had an event at the Woodland on last night, Monday night, which was so well attended. It was a surprise to many. There was close to 500 people there. And we had top talent. I'm talking about all of the Broadway stars from all of the big shows that you've seen or that you've heard about. And, you know, I just want to, I'm saying this because I want to congratulate the organizers, and we want to work with them to continue making Soma Stage successful in our community. But I also want to say to my colleagues here and to Township administration, whose job is to work with departments, we really, really, really need to do what we can with respect to our municipal facilities. It was sweltering in the Woodland, and you know, it was quite embarrassing, frankly. And if we don't do it, what we're going to do, what's going to end up happening is that groups like Soma Stage, as other groups have, they're just going to leave us and they're going to go to another regional space, performing arts space. We have a performing arts space at the Bergdorf. We have a performing arts space at the Woodland. And we do a pretty damn good job with what we have, I have to say. So it's not all bleak, but I do think that we have to move some projects forward, and we need to really, you know, just not give it all to one group or another, historic preservation or another group, in terms of delaying necessary basic accommodations like climate, like AC in the Woodland, like having doors that work, you know, basic things like that, beyond the other improvements that are necessary, like lighting and sound. So I just want to put that on everybody's radar. We're all in support of the arts. This is an arts community, so much talent. But if we don't really do anything about it to support and encourage and flourish that, you know, what are we doing? That's all. And that's my report. I'm going to take the opportunity here to share my screen very quickly, because I want people to see about the health. Yes, here it is. Can you see this? Can you all see this? The Health and Wellness Fair that Health Officer Davenport was talking about. I mean, this is really exciting. We haven't done something like this that I'm aware of in many, many years. And look at this, starting at 10 over in South Orange, look at all of these opportunities for health screens and participation for children and for adults. And then starting in Maple Crest Park, starting at noon, you can get information about all kinds of things, programs, assistance, resources, and all of these important free screenings: blood pressure, diabetes, glucose, STI, breast cancer screenings, and all of these really cool fitness sessions. So come on out, join us on Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of opportunity to focus on your health and wellness in the fall. And we want to thank all of our partners and our sponsors. And that's my report. Okay, discussion items. The first one belongs to Committee Member Cripe. Committee Member Cripe?
Yes, as we had made designations throughout the summer on heat advisory days to open the municipal pool to all Maplewood residents. I felt it was inefficient for us to have to do that every single time we had an heat advisory versus creating a policy to have that mandate automatically come into play. So I would like to put forward a request that we look into making the heat advisory days automatically open to the public for the safety of our citizens and the health of our people. We have the facilities, we have the space. It was not an overdue burden from speaking to staff members on down to members of the pool. There was not a very large increase of attendance or uptick in crowdedness. It actually, those days can be days that seemed almost more like a community pool from some of the feedback I received from folks. And so I'd like to put that forward to this body, that we look into making the pool mandatory on heat advisory days, mandatorily open for all citizens in Maplewood.
Thank you, Committee Member Kripe. I'm going to support your advocacy in this. I agree with you. We should have a policy that's uniform so people know what to expect, and it would apply during heat waves. There is a designation on what qualifies as a heat wave, so it's not just going to be every time it's hot. And I just want to add that I had earlier today asked Community Services Director Mancuso for some data, if any data was available, to kind of look at our capacity on those days where we did this during the heat wave this summer. And although the data was not gathered uniformly, I'm afraid, and we'll get in a better habit of doing that going forward, it's clear that we didn't have capacity issues. We never reached capacity. There was never any danger to anyone, members and non-members alike. And the process of just showing proof of residency in some capacity was pretty seamless. No reports from staff at the pool that this was an undue burden in any way, and no objection on this from Community Services Director Mancuso that we're aware of at the moment. So just wanted to put that out there to help colleagues as they further assess this. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think I would suggest Ms. Kripe chairs the Recreation and Human Services Committee, that we kick it there for more discussion as to what the policy is, because we've used two terms, heat wave, heat advisory. They're two different things. What constitutes it? Who constitutes it? Does it have to be an emergency? And I think all those things have to be figured out so that we're not confused as whether it has to be the governing body declare it, or is it are we authorizing the department head to do it? So those would be, we have a while to figure it out, but I think we need to figure it out and probably put it into that committee.
I agree with that.
Agreed. Thank you.
Yeah, that works for me too. Mr. McGehee, any thoughts?
No, I agree with what's been said. I'm in favor of some type of policy.
Yep. So we're in favor of the policy. We just got to work on the process. Great. Thank you, Ms. Kripe. We're going to move over to our second agenda item here, discussion item. Mr. DeLuca, Deputy Mayor DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor. On April 5th, we adopted a resolution for Cannabis Lady. It was a conditional local license based on these 4 items, that they had to receive their license from the state. We had to execute a community host agreement. They had to agree no armed personnel, and they had to submit a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. So that was the criteria that we set forth. They have met that. I've sent those documents to you. We did receive the copy of the conditional license from the state that they've received. So they're on their way right now. They just need from us that we are in agreement that they've met our conditions, and they've And Mr. Desiderio, I don't know if we have to pass another resolution. I don't think so. It's just something that says that they've gotten their license, their local license, if we agree. I would recommend to the Township Committee that they have met their criteria. There's one thing that I would suggest we keep open as a conversation, and that's this community benefits. They are willing to make a $5,000 annual contribution in the first year. They've offered 2 organizations. I would suggest that we agree to the 5,000, but we continue talking about how that money is going to be used. Initially, we talked about that the money from the community host agreement that we did with the Apothecarium would be used for some drug and alcohol prevention programs. And we really haven't discussed what other money would be used for. And I know we've kicked around a little bit about a second mental health crisis intervention person. Oftentimes they're dealing with drug and alcohol stuff. So I would urge us to accept the documents that they sent us and accept the idea of the $5,000 contribution, but continue to have the conversation about how that money is going to be used. I did speak with the applicant, and she is willing to commit to the 5,000 and commit to having that conversation with us.
Yeah, I agree with those points, Deputy Mayor DeLuca, and thank you for that. I suggest, again, in terms of process, that maybe we kick this, the further details about, how the money is used back to the Cannabis Review Committee, perhaps for a recommendation that could come back to the governing body so that we can officially decide these things. Because there's a lot of conversations happening now that people are getting their licenses and it's all sort of like not really all put together. And there's a lot of interest in how are we going to use the money? How are we going to use the 2% that we get kicked back to us for social equity? How are we going to walk our talk? And the review committee should make a recommendation.
So I would move that we grant the local license to Cannaboss Lady based on the conditions set forth, that they've met their required conditions that we put forth in the April 5th resolution, with the understanding that 5,000 contribution will continue to negotiate as to the recipient.
I'll second.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Crichton,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you.
Mayor, before we move forward, Mr. DeLuca, who's that letter coming from?
I would suggest it comes from the clerk if it can be done tomorrow. I think they're looking for that as soon as possible so they can get it to the State Cannabis Review Commission.
Okay.
And Mr. DeLuca, if we would please, the signed copy of the agreement with them, if it could go to Ms. Fritzen to be kept as a permanent record of the township, please.
She has the documents. They need to be countersigned by us, but she has all the documents. Hard copy. I believe they were emailed to you, or hard copy. I don't remember.
They were hand delivered.
Okay. So she has that.
Any further discussion on this item? Okay, we're going to move forward to the third and final item, and Deputy Mayor DeLuca, you have that one as well.
Yes, this is just simple. I move that we amend the emergency operations plan to establish a secondary emergency shelter at the Maplewood Municipal Building and the Woodland for the Maplewood Middle School students and staff.
Any discussion?
Need a second.
Second.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Crichton,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Mr. McGeehee,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. This brings us to our consent agenda. Are there any items before we move it in whole that anyone wishes to take out? to vote on individually? Seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion for consent agenda items A through S.
So moved.
Okay.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes, I'm just abstaining on item R, which is the Lexington Avenue paving.
Mr. McGehee,
Yes.
Mayor Dafis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen, and duly noted, Deputy Mayor DeLuca's abstention. Item R, resolution number 287-22. Okay, public comment, another opportunity here. If there's anyone still with us on any subject matter, Mr. Waltz, turning it back over to you.
Mayor, I think I missed the minutes because you went through letter S and T is the minutes from what, February, March, or April or something.
I think that's correct.
Wait, my agenda says S, approval of regular session minutes. It does
Oh.
not have.
Mine says T is regular session minutes.
Ms. Fritzen, did I get the wrong agenda?
Mine says S.
Well, you got the later agenda. Ms. Adams and I are looking at the earlier agenda. In any event, it was your intent to pass the minutes of those dates. Is that correct, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay.
Separate them. They're part of the consent agenda, and I'd like to include them all unless there's a reason to separate them.
No, I just was noticing that yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Desiderio, for that. Again, back to public comment. Mr. Waltz.
Good evening, Mayor and Township Committee. For the second time this evening, we will now begin the second public comment portion of the meeting on any subject matter. If any meeting attendee would like to address the committee, please use the raise your hand function. We will convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak. Would anybody like to address the committee at this time? Mayor, first I have Stephen Erde. We'll convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak.
Welcome, Mr. Erde. We see you there, but we cannot hear you. You're still muted.
Now I'm unmuted. Sorry. Thank you all. And thank you, Mayor Dafis, for your Suicide Prevention Month presentation and your land use explanation and your words about the food sharing. They were very moving. The Maplewood Plaza Condominium Association wants to address the situation in our building at 467 Valley Street relating to the township's affordable housing policy. By the town permitting and encouraging one entity, Iron Ore LLC, to dismiss its affordable housing obligation by transference to another entity puts a burden on our association without regard to the impact such transference might have on the association members. Condominium associations are self-governing organizations whose primary purpose is fiduciary. Owner members are obliged to comply with association governing documents, including master deeds, bylaws, resolutions, etc. By New Jersey condominium law, the town's award recipient will be required to join the association and comply with its rules. Awarding a recipient discounted housing and taxes does not guarantee or protect the interests of association members, the award recipient, or the town. In fact, it puts all at risk. Despite the lower purchase price and taxes, the monthly unadjusted HOA fees totaling $7,700 a year is part of their financial obligation as members of the condo association, in addition to potential unanticipated assessments levied for the building repairs, such as a new $400,000 roof, or for fines imposed for violations of the association's regulations. Who is vetting potential purchasers for their qualifications for the affordable housing program? HOA fees are the responsibility of association members, unit owners. The fees are generated by the association and its management team to meet the demands of annual budgets. Members who fail to meet their obligations are subject to legal action. The town board puts in harm's way anyone to whom they grant home ownership without guaranteeing HOA fees payment in perpetuity.
30 seconds.
Further, the town puts itself at risk by knowingly subjecting the association to fiduciary hardship. Reducing taxes for a single individual in a community or of similar properties is discriminatory. It puts one individual at advantage to which others could benefit, and it does so in a random fashion. Many of our residents live on fixed incomes, whether it be from pensions, Social Security benefits, or savings. Some
10
live
seconds.
paycheck to paycheck, and some have recently had to sell or leave their leased apartments because of an inability to pay. This is not a case of not in my backyard. Our residents include single individuals, retirees, families, single parents, and their children.
That is your
Individuals with
time.
this.
We want to thank Mr. Erdy. Sorry for cutting you off. We're trying to keep it to 3 minutes, Mr. Erdy, and you're welcome to submit in writing your comments in full. We don't want you to feel like you didn't have the opportunity to say what you needed to say. Thank you for your comments. Mr. Waltz, next up, we have.
Yes,
whom?
Mayor. Next, we have Betsy Black. Convert you to a panelist, allow you 3 minutes to speak.
This is a continuation of the Maplewood Plaza condominium statement regarding the township's affordable housing policy. To continue what Dr. Erdy was saying, we have individuals with disabilities, people of varying ethnicities, backgrounds, and social status. We have had, and for all we know, may now have residents who have a Section 8 vouchers and have rented their apartments from the unit owners. I dare say many, if not most, could not afford to live in the Baker Street building with rents at $4,500 a month. Each of our owners deserves the same consideration with regard to tax relief. Moreover, taxing one individual on the deflated sale price, assessed for the tax advantage of a third party, 1/4 of its true value, diminishes home values to tax-paying homeowners and revenue collections to the town, while increasing the burden on the rest of the community. The tax on the unit will be based on the purchase price of $91,000 rather than its assessed value of $264,400, like everyone else. Owners of equivalent property will be paying 3 times the tax, $500 more each month. When the town's next assessment becomes effective, will this homeowner still be paying the same reduced property tax amount, while others are likely to experience an increase in their taxes? The effect of selling the Maplewood Plaza condominium property for less than 1/3 of its value devaluates our properties, for many our greatest asset. It makes it more difficult to sell and more difficult for buyers to acquire mortgages. The town should not be permitted to create financial hardship on its citizens, our members. The newly constructed luxury apartment building at 104 Baker Street was required to dedicate a percentage of the units in the building where 2-bedroom apartments are renting for $4,500 a month to affordable housing units. If the township is promoting fair housing, why is it agreeing with wealthy developers to keep low-income people out of the wealthy village section of town and placing them remotely? Maplewood Plaza Condominium Association, representing 87 property owners and taxpayers, was made aware, almost accidentally, at the August 2nd Township Committee meeting. The committee permitted Iron Ore to transfer its obligation for an affordable housing unit to our building by purchasing Unit 2L and selling it for a price more than 60% lower than its market value.
10 seconds.
Had the transfer involved a rental unit to another rental unit, and 104 Baker is a rental property, this would not have been a problem, as Iron Ore would rent it out at affordable housing rates and continue to pay the taxes assessed on the apartment's market value.
That is your time.
Thank you, Ms. Black. As I stated to Mr. Erdy, you're welcome to send your complete statement to us in writing. Thank you again. Mr.
Mayor, next I have one name again. I apologize. The first name, Elaine, will convert you to a panelist, allow you 3 minutes to speak. You are on mute.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay. So I would like to continue the statement of the Maplewood Plaza Condominium Association. Just give me 1 second. We also discovered that iron ore was getting a tax abatement on 104 Baker, and that the $250,000 loss on the apartment in our building will be made up by the town in the form of a credit toward their next project. These arrangements between iron ore and the town of Maplewood were never made public except for a brief announcement at the August 2nd Township Committee meeting. There's nothing written in Maplewood Village Green, ROINJ.com, Real Estate NJ, Yield Pro, News Record, anywhere else that we could find. Why does the town permit transfers of obligations, and why should the developer not be compelled to keep the affordable housing units in their new buildings? We understand that developers also have the option of making a monetary contribution to a township fund established to assist low-income residents. Why are development plans approved if the developer is not willing to provide the required number of low-income units in that building or make the monetary contribution? The association should not bear the burden of collecting fees if the award recipient purchaser is unable to meet their financial requirement. This is a deal the town made with the developer, and therefore the town and/or the developer should assure all association-related fees of its award recipient paid in full in perpetuity. Aside from the negative implications of this transaction, including decreased property values, reluctance of mortgage lenders to provide mortgages, we are particularly troubled by the lack of transparency on the part of the Township Committee. All right, and that ends our statement. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Mayor, you're muted.
Oh, hot damn. Sorry about that. Do we have any other members of the public?
I see no one, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We want to thank everyone who took the time to address us tonight. As you can see, we try to be as transparent and collaborative as we can be. We have 2 public comment periods twice a month at our 2 governing body meetings. So there's a lot of opportunity to engage with us. And obviously you can reach out to us individually at any time as well. We're all very, very accessible. So thank you all. We couldn't do this without your input, and we appreciate your input. Okay, well, that's it for tonight, folks. That's what we've got. I move that we adjourn and meet again on the 20th of September.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Craig?
Yes.
Mrs. Luca?
Yes.
Mr. McGehee?
Yes.
Mayor Dacus?